flashlight. And, well, hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Lock and Load on the fabulous Gun Channels platform. What's fabulous about Gun Channels is all the people that are on it that are all about freedom and the heritage of freedom that's been passed down to us over the years by the founding fathers and generations that followed. There's a lot of news happening, including we have a new president of the NRA, and his name is North, Oliver North. And I guess people were that is just freaking out everybody.
Wait a minute, didn't Pete Brownell just become president of the NRA?
Well, I've been hearing everybody's been talking about Gun Channels that it's now Oliver North took over.
Colonel North is the president of the NRA. Awesome. Not that Pete Brownell did a bad job, but I didn't hear he did anything.
Well, that's life in the big city. I mean, the NRA calls me about once a week asking for money on my cell phone. So I have to make up an excuse every week telling them why I can't pay them any more money than I already have. All right. So, and also today in history, oh, by the way, I talked to Oily Prepper and on the phone, and she has basically been recovering from the flu, and her husband had some health issues, and she's got some, I think they're kind of wound up, his oil, water, trucking, gray water trucking business says that his health issues just kind of like prevented him from doing that. And so they're just going through some stuff right now in between just the flu or cold or whatever it is. And she was telling me about she has a genetic disposition against like certain vitamins and things that would help her get better, like vitamin B6, folic acid so she has to get folate. And so she's just dealing with some stuff right now. So that's why her show hasn't been on. The Pepper Powwow, people who like that show. I like being on there every once in a while and on Thursdays. But so hopefully she gets better and gets back soon. But it was nice to talk to her for a little while. And so this is the anniversary, the Battle of the Coral Sea. It was from the 4th to the 8th, and it was a relatively important battle, especially to the Aussies. Basically, have a big celebration every year for it because for them it's the battle that saved Australia from being invaded. That's how they think of it. And they did mint a coin. They have a silver coin dedicated to the Battle of the Coral Sea.
Got it.
And the 7th today is the 7th, and that was the day that the battle was from the 4th through the 8th, but today was the day where both air groups from both sides, the Imperial Japanese and the United States, and I guess there were some Aussie ships there. The air groups found the others' aircraft carriers, and that was the first major naval battle where there was an exchange where the ships were on the ocean and never actually saw each other for the whole battle. And naval carrier tactics were still not fully developed at the time. It was still a new thing. The importance of that battle is it was a tactical draw, maybe slightly favoring the Japanese, but it was a strategic victory for the United States because a couple reasons. It prevented the invasion of Port Moresby and stalled it off for quite some time. And that would have, if they invaded Port Moresby, the next step was to invade Australia. So that's why the Aussies make a big deal about it. It's a battle it saved Australia from being invaded. And so also the U.S. lost the Lexington and the Yorktown was damaged, but the Japanese lost I think the Zuikaku, and a super carrier one of the super carriers that attacked Pearl Harbor. The Shokaku was badly damaged and could not participate in the Battle of Midway at all. So that was like one carrier that didn't show up at Midway, which was what most Americans would remember as the decisive battle of naval battle in the Pacific, I think. So it's worth just talking about that stuff. In other news, tomorrow, President Trump is going to announce his decision on the Iran nuclear deal. So that's most of the news. The other thing I wanted to say is all this stuff about the volcanic activity on the Big Island has been so overhyped. It's like if somebody can make a YouTube video that can get 15,000 views by saying like the Big Island of Hawaii is being consumed by a gigantic volcano, when it's just like a couple of houses have been, hit by lava. It's like I've seen everything on hyping this thing up for views. It's like clickbait stuff. The only thing I haven't seen is like somebody putting a camera and having like 20 people run around in different directions and claiming and putting a headline that says mass evacuations and panic. I mean, I spent the whole day by the pool. I live on the Big Island. Nothing happened. Okay. I mean, if the volcano opens up right under your house, okay, it's a big deal. But that doesn't like mass evacuations affecting that. Leilani, and I've seen people say that there's a volcano, lava flowing through a major city. It's not a major city. It's a tiny subdivision in the middle of the forest. But it's like if you do a search on YouTube and like Hawaii volcano and activity and lava, you probably get in order of most views. The more views the video has, the more fake news it is. I mean, so.
Oh, I know. My mom thinks the whole island's fallen into the Pacific, and it's all engulfed in lava. Flows everywhere, and I mean, she thinks that the whole island's devastated.
Yeah, I've been getting texts and phone calls from people that it's like it's just that want to know that I'm okay or something, and So in this hangout, we will talk about ships, planes, guns, battles for survival, battles for freedom, guns blazing for freedom, freedom without limit, freedom undefined. This hangout is revolting against tyranny, revolting against conspiracies. This hangout is like all the rest. This hangout will not be viral. Google will not like this hangout. This hangout is about knives, guns, gear, blood, bombs, fire blazing for freedom. This hangout is a drum. This hangout will not change things. This hangout is a rebirth of freedom, rising, understanding, awakening. This hangout will continue after it is over. This hangout will linger in history. This hangout will survive you, me. This hangout cannot be blamed, cannot be tamed. This hangout will continue in your mind. In your mind. In your mind. All right, that's all I have to say.
Was this a poem or a disclaimer?
I thought it was Dr. Seuss.
I thought we were going.
Okay, we can now talk about the lesbians at the hot tub yesterday.
And now, lesbian talk.
And now a word from our sponsor.
Nice.
So Jesse James got a remote for his Mikey Hartman optic from LA Police Gear for, I think it was $39 or something, or at least it's on its way. And I have the old Israeli Mikey Hartman optic, not the brand new version, but that brand new version was vaporware for so many years. They kept promising that they would deliver it at the next SHOT Show. And then when they failed, they said, oh, well, it'll be at the next SHOT Show. And it wasn't at the next SHOT Show. And then they said, oh, it'll be at the next SHOT Show. And it wasn't at the next SHOT Show. And it got really annoying waiting for them to, especially when people would say, hey, come on my channel and complain like it was my fault or something. because I happen to have one of the originals, and which I don't think you can get anymore or find anymore.
I know. I tried to find the original. I couldn't seem to find one at all.
Yeah, when they were out, they were out. And then people would make an order for the new one on the Command Arms website, and it was like they would pay for it, and then they got stuck waiting for. How long did you wait, Jesse?
I don't know. It was about a year or 6 months, but I was actually ordered through Optics Planet.
Oh, you got it through Optics Planet. So you pay for it, and then you wait for like a year or 6 months. That was just bad, the way they rolled out.
Well,
actually,
waiting a
Optics
year
Planet-
or 6 months is pretty normal for Optics Planet.
After you pay for it?
They didn't actually take the money out until after it actually got there. So.
Oh, well, that's good.
Yeah, they don't take their cash until it kind of gets ready to ship.
Yeah, that's good, because that's not what I heard from Command Arms. But I don't want to give anybody trouble. There was one video that one channel, a local channel on the Hawaii Institute for Survival, where he actually lives in Leilani, and he was just walking through, and he made some stuff on his channel, just some videos of walking down the street. But there wasn't any, mass chaos or attempts to like make it into clickbait. It was just, there were some cracks in the pavement down the street, and there were some lava intrusions onto some properties, but he wasn't like trying to hype it up like the volcano was consuming the island. So, but most of the channels, if you don't know channels, Hawaii YouTube channels, if you just like use this Google search or YouTube search or whatever it is, then you'll just probably get the ones with the most views, which are just complete horseshit. And so it's like how people can have a distorted view of everything and anything if they look at something through the media. So maybe that's why people think gun control works, is because every time there's a mass shooting, they say we need gun control, and they repeat it after every shooting, and it's been repeated so many times that gun control is the solution, and the politicians won't let us pass gun control laws. But they pass gun control laws, and it's not the solution because it doesn't work. But people believe it because it's repeated over and over and over every time, after every time anybody uses a gun for something evil. So I think the guy who shot out the windows in my complex was sentenced to something. So some amount of time in jail by a court, and one of the neighbors was saying, "Oh, it's so terrible. He had guns." And it's like, I was like, "Lady, this is America. Lots of people have guns." And they just don't like stick them in other people's faces. They don't shoot out their windows. Recklessly into center of the town, and so. It just, I don't know. So what do you guys think about Oliver North taking over the NRA?
I didn't know he was on the ballot.
What was there a ballot, or was there a ballot? He was elected onto it? Or was
they have ballots to give out, and then you can go vote. Like everybody voted on Saturday or Sunday, I guess.
At the convention, or?
Yeah.
Ah.
And then
so that's not the ballot vote. The ballot vote was for the board of directors.
Oh.
Okay, who here didn't get a ballot?
I haven't checked my mail.
It would have been over a month ago. It was due in, I think, on April 15th.
It might have gotten lost in my pile of my messy condo, messy bachelor pad condo.
Well, I never got one last year for the ones for voting, and I was a member long enough before the show, and I never got one. But I've also heard you got to be a member for 5 years before you can get to vote.
I renewed for 3 years, so I guess I did. That's why I didn't get it.
So I don't.
No, you either have to be a member for 5 consecutive years or be a lifetime member to be able to vote.
Oh, well, I've been a member of the NRA for over 5 years, but I only renewed for 3 years the last time. So I don't know.
And see, Military Arms Channel was saying on YouTube, all you got to do be a member for 5 days or 5 weeks. He was saying something like that. I was like, oh, I don't know. I've heard
Maybe
the 5
it's
years
a different.
before.
The 5 years is for the board of directors. I don't know about the other stuff.
Well,
I
don't know whether I just lost it or what.
I didn't care too much because I know when I was there I wasn't voting, so it didn't matter.
Well, there's a lot of people. It's like when there's a lot of people on the board, so I wouldn't really be sure who to vote for and who not to vote for, because usually they don't have, like, the NRA TV doesn't like have debates between members on why they should be a member or why somebody else shouldn't. I mean, I guess there's a limited number of spots, but I just don't know too much about how it's internally
on
run.
the board. I know one person on the board that's Colonel Alan West, and I've worked on his car. I've met the man. He's the only one I know, and he'd be the only one I would even vote for anything because he's the only one I know.
He's from Florida, I think.
He's from Texas. He was originally Dallas. Then he got on board on the NRA board, and I've worked on his truck more than once. It's in our waiting room. Good guy.
I'm pretty
Good
sure.
guy. Everybody walked up to him and said hi. He's a real cool dude.
Yeah. So hi, local 223 out there in the YouTube external. We're all okay over here. So let's see. Oh yeah, Fox Company Prepping restarted up his shows again, so that was fun. I got to when the earthquake happened, I was basically talking on a live stream to my friends in the UK and in Scotland, and basically then the condo started like going side to side. Basically, the epicenter was like up on the volcano, so it was like, I don't know, it's a couple 100 miles away. So there wasn't any bangs or shaking. It was just like the condo was swaying side to side because I guess the ground was moving or something. So, but it wasn't like a bang or a shake like most earthquakes I'm used to. It was from Los Angeles or even in Hawaii. But it was more like a swaying thing. And it lasted for about 5 minutes. So, but I basically just went down to see if the pool was still functioning because they had emptied it completely to repatch some of the plaster had some blisters on it, and they needed to repatch it. And because there's no water in the pool when they're doing that, I was thinking that because the water like holds the pool, there's pressure against it, so it won't crack. But if there's no water in there, I thought it might crack, but it didn't. So got lucky on that one. Otherwise, they'd send us a special assessment to put in a new pool at some ridiculous price. So, hey, Squib, do you know anything about the ships that were involved in the Battle of the Coral Sea?
I don't remember all the details offhand. I thought in that one, they lost the 2 carriers. We lost the 1, but
All right, you're forgiven.
I used to know. I used to remember better.
Right, we lost the Lexington, and the Yorktown was damaged, and they lost the Zuikaku, and the Shokaku was damaged, so it couldn't participate in the Battle of Midway, which was right after the Battle of the Coral Sea.
Well, the Yorktown got the living tar kicked out of it. I mean, it was barely
Yeah,
barely afloat, and they put her back together.
Wasn't that the one that the Japanese reported it was sunk, and then what do you know? Like a year later, it comes back, and like
not a year sooner at the best.
Days.
Like basically
they got that back. There were still repair crews when it left Pearl to go to the battle at Midway.
Yep,
on board the ship.
Basically, they were waiting for it. The crews, the repair crews, were waiting for Yorktown when it hit Pearl Harbor, and as soon as it hit, they started working on it right away, and they turned it around like almost overnight, and as much as they could, repaired whatever they could, and got it off to sea because they needed all those air groups to have a chance up against 4 Japanese carriers. And
I mean, it was crazy.
Yeah,
crazy. I read about it. Beat the living tar out of that ship. They fixed her real fast. I mean, it was just like, hell did they do that in 2 or 3 days? I mean, it was just unthinkable.
Well, if you actually go to Pearl Harbor, they still have some of the buildings there still have bullet holes that they never bothered to fix from December 7th. They just So, but I guess they have prioritized the important stuff.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's just you're talking an aircraft carrier, even the Essex class carriers or whatever. I can't remember what class they were. They're not small ships. I mean, this thing was damn near sunk, and they got it back there.
By today's standards, they're small, but by standards back then, they weren't.
Yeah, I mean, they showed us when I was at the Pearl. They said that's where they parked the carriers. And now 1 Nimitz class fits where 2 carriers would take place, but still they're a big ship. You know, it's not a small ship. I mean, it's just what those guys did and how they got it back together so fast. It was just an engineering marvel that nobody's ever been able to do again. And it's just kind of cool.
Yeah, Pearl Harbor is definitely Oahu is definitely a Navy kind of a town.
Well, and it got the tar kicked out of it also on Midway. I mean, the Japs bombed the hell out of the Yorktown.
Well, it was sunk at Midway. Yeah, it was sunk at Midway.
Right, but I mean, it was only sunk at the end. It was. I mean, they beat the living snot out of it for days. I mean, the whole day. And it wasn't until the end of the day when they was like, okay, well, it's finally going to go down at the end.
Yeah, but the Japanese lost the war on that day when they lost 4 carriers and all the air groups. That for them was completely irreplaceable. That they had no way to replace the talent and the trained pilots at all, or not them, the carriers they couldn't replace. But more importantly, they had other carriers. They could not replace the air group pilots that they lost.
Yeah, and we couldn't replace our carriers because those were the only 3 we had.
Well, we could replace them. It would just take a while, and we eventually did replace them, and with lots and lots of carriers.
We couldn't get them built fast enough. That's the thing. It would have, if we'd have lost all 3. Yeah, it would have probably went on longer.
Yeah, the war, the way wars work, a lot of it's just luck sometimes. And but we're just I think I'm just glad that war is over. We have our Japan is now our friend, and we aren't going to be at any more wars with Japan. We have peace, and that's the way. If you can manage peace, whenever there's a war, young people die, and
we just got to worry about Kim Jong coming across the border when they take all the mines and everything out.
Yeah, they'll probably all the Korean army will want to come visit, and like you pick up just for food, they'll want to visit South Korea and hit some fast food places because they don't really have very much up there.
Well, if they were smart, they would do that. Yeah. But I don't know. I think that whole deal with them is like, literally like a couple months ago, he was wanting to blow up the United States and everybody else, and all of a sudden now he's like, oh, hey, come on over to my country.
Well, I think part of it is, I think one big part of it is he's running out of money because the sanctions really cut off his banking resources. And so without any money, it's kind of hard to run a country, or
Or
have
could it be a
much
big old
fun.
trick?
And so
Could it be a big old ruse?
So let's hope it all works out, and we can figure. Trump gets a good deal with to finally end the Korean War. I guess we've just had an armistice since the 50s after the war ended with an armistice. But the war didn't officially end. It's just an armistice, and if they can actually end the war between North and South Korea, that'll be something. I don't know how they're going to do it, but we'll just see how good Trump does that. And it'll really, if they do that, it'll really piss off the media. Will go crazy if Trump gets a Nobel Prize for that.
He won't.
They'll give the Nobel Prize to Dennis Rodman instead.
Yeah. Well, just like Obama got it 2 weeks after being elected.
Yeah, without doing anything.
Yeah.
They gave him a Nobel
2
Prize.
weeks after election, you get the Nobel Peace Prize. Yay! But he didn't do nothing.
Yeah. So, anyway, it was really nice to talk to all those guys in the UK. I hadn't talked to them for so long because the Fox company prepping had stopped doing chats for like over a year. Started doing them again, so it was just fun to get the UK's perspective. Apparently, they've gotten used to Trump and they like him now. So that's strange, but truth is stranger than fiction. So, anybody working on any new gun stuff?
I am.
What?
After going to the NRA show and getting a whole bunch of coupon codes for discounts, I'm like, oh, now I want to. And I finished building the one rifle. I want to build another one. Now I just don't know what to build. Either a pistol, AR pistol, or like a 14-inch, 14.5-inch with a pinned and welded flash hider, or make another 16-inch. Like, oh, damn it, I don't know. Oh,
well, that's a big problem you have there.
Well, with the pistol, I know I'm not going to shoot far, but if I make the 14.5, I'd like to get it, 600-700 yards. But I mean, the scope I'm going to put on there will read out at least 800, and I'd like
with a 14-inch barrel.
But I
14-inch barrel.
Yeah, 14.5-inch barrel. I don't know if I can get the speed up to get it there.
Yeah, I
want to run like 70 or 73 grain bullets. 55s will do it, but they're not stable.
That's a heavy bullet. You got to get it there too. So
yeah, I didn't know if anybody ever chronograph rounds out of a 14.5-inch and knows how fast they're going. Or I've been running ballistic data and a calculator all evening and looking up reloads and bullets and powder data and all this jazz, going, okay, what can I do here? What can I do there? Because, like, damn it.
Well, you haven't built the rifle yet, so.
No, I'm just doing it in my head, doing it in my head and on paper first.
Oh, okay, that makes sense, kind of.
Yeah, I kind of plan it out, map it out before. I know I'm going to use the same polymer lower. I'd like to do like a short 14.5 lightweight, super lightweight one, but like, I want it to, if my scope says 800 yards, I'd like it to get to 800 yards. I mean, even if I don't hit accurately, I mean, I still like it to.
Well, what's the point? I mean, yeah, but you have to hit what you're aiming at, or just getting it there.
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's the reticle I have in my scopes and everything. It's not designed for precision. It's designed to get it there. It's designed to hit a man. man-sized target, and it will. But you just gotta.
At 800 yards, hitting a man-sized target is kind of precision. I mean, you may not hit him in the exact button you're on his shirt that you're aiming at, but it's still.
Yeah. I mean, you're versus people that want to put them in. Hey, I want to put them in a 3-inch by 3-inch square. It doesn't do that. It's designed for the chest. Put them all in the chest and call it done.
Right. Well, I mean, for my long range shooting rifle is my CZ, and that's an 18-inch barrel, and I mean, I don't think I'd try and do any long range shooting with the short barrel myself, but I'm not like an expert marksman like a lot of some of the other people. I mean, I hit what I aim at with the guns that I have, which is, I guess, all one can do. I haven't had any military training, and so it's like.
Well, if the wife's not working on Friday, I'm going back out to that long distance range in south of Fort Worth, and gonna take my 5.56 gun, my 16-inch, and my 8, and just.
Well, which rifle I can do, because those rounds are hot. What kind of rifle is that?
I've got my 18-inch of 223 Wild with a pencil barrel, and then I've got my Ruger AR 5.56 with a 16-inch barrel, and the ammo will work in both. But the 18-inch, it runs like 2,815 feet per second. 16-inch, it's like 2072, and it's enough. It's hauling enough ass to get there, and I got really good. I mean, the standard deviation was super low. I mean, it was like 4 was on the standard deviations. That means it's real consistent ammo. So, I mean,
do you put any videos of your range videos at all when you go there, or on your channel? Or
I've got one on my phone, and I tried to upload to VidMe when it was still working, and it was taking forever on a review I did. But I can try to upload it this next time, and you can hear the shots on my phone when it hit. So it's fun.
Oh yeah, it's always fun. The range time is always fun time.
I mean, the very first time I ever shot a long distance or anything past 200 yards, I was hitting 700 yards with no problem. I mean, I just put it on the 700 yard mark and on my scope and just pull the trigger and boom, hit, boom, hit, boom, hit, boom, hit. I mean, it was like, so it was fun.
Yeah, I like the sound. That's why I like my steel steel targets, because I like the sound it makes when it goes bang and it hits the target.
Oh yeah,
it's like you get that positive reinforcement, for all that work of getting out to the range, hauling everything out, getting your gun set up, and driving out there, and so
it's fun.
Yeah. So, hey, I wanted to ask Squib. I know he said he's working on his garden at his house. I was wondering what kind of garden Marines. What do Marines grow in their vegetable gardens? I mean, it's like a victory garden. Is it a carrots?
Hand
or he grows hand grenades.
I didn't really like the idea of strapping explosives to my body when I was in, so I really kind of avoided grenades. What's weird is I didn't have a problem loading a 1,000-pound bomb onto an aircraft, but I didn't like the idea of a concussion grenade on my waist. I don't know, call me weird. Yeah, I don't, the only kind of garden that Marines have is a beer garden, and I've had many a party in one of those on base. So
you're not going to be a lead farmer?
I go to the range for that. We just clip a new target on there, and then we go behind the target stands and start picking up lead, put it in a Ziploc bag. So that's where I do my lead farming. But the garden really isn't a Marine thing. It's just I think I'm a farmer thing, but I'm really not. The garden costs me more money to have and to to grow, to maintain, whatever you want to call it, than it would be for me to go to the grocery store and just buy fresh produce. But it's kind of a hobby, so.
Well, what are you growing?
This year, in addition to the strawberries and raspberries I grow every year, this year I plan to grow some hot peppers, bell peppers, tomatoes, green onions, and cilantro. I might.
Oh, I love cilantro. It's my favorite thing.
Well, cilantro grows really easy. I mean, that stuff, it springs up pretty quick, and it's pretty hardy, I think. I mean, at least what the stuff I've grown. What I have to do this year, though, is I have to make my garden more deer resistant, because the deer come up the railroad and walk up the hill into my backyard and start mowing on my veggies. So I'm going to be building a cage around one. My garden's in 3 sections. I'm going to build a cage around the one section that has where I'll be growing the stuff that the deer tend to go after more. So.
Well, they're going to try and get to it anyway. So even whatever you build, they're going to try and get around it if they see food. I mean,
they're going to have to jump straight up in the air, I guess. I mean, they can jump, but there's not a whole lot of room for them. So
they can't. Well, they could try and knock over whatever you build, but
nah, they're stupid. But I mean, they're not. Nah, they won't. My father-in-law's got a really big garden on his property up north, and he put an 8-foot fence around it, and they've never tried to knock it down. And the deer up there get a lot bigger.
And you can't hunt them. You can't just take them like hunting because it's in a residential area. Did you get that question?
No, it broke up because I'm driving through that area with the dead zone.
Oh, okay. I was just asking. You can't like take the deer if they try and get on your property because it's a residential area. You can't just like hunt them down if they come on your property.
Waterford Township, Michigan. In Waterford Township, Michigan, discharging a bow and arrow, a crossbow, or a BB gun is considered the same as discharging a firearm, so it's not permitted. And, you know what I could do? I could throw an axe at him.
Yes, but what if you use like a knife, like Rambo?
I haven't found anything in the ordinance about throwing knives or tomahawks because I have a target set up in my backyard for my oldest son for him to throw his knives and his tomahawks.
What about?
So I guess he could just miss and hit a deer.
What about? Could you use a katana? Could you use a katana on a deer?
I don't know. I'd have to look into township ordinances about that, but I would think they would run away. And the thing is, though, they could go walking up the railroad track. I'm hoping a locomotive just runs one over one day. And,
well, yeah. The problem is then well, you'll deal with it with your barriers probably.
Well, you know, I've heard that if you pour vinegar in there, it'll keep deer, raccoons, things like that, rabbit out of there. I've tried some spray stuff. I've had some pretty good results with a few of the things you can buy at the hardware store for insects and for critters, but the stuff's expensive. Once again, it gets to the point where the garden costs more than just going to the grocery store. So I'm thinking this year I might try some vinegar.
You know, those spray ideas don't always work. There's some companies that sell like coyote urine and like to keep away like squirrels or something, and my dad tried that because the ground squirrels he used to have a bird feeder. He liked the birds, but the ground squirrels would come and like invade and just make a total nuisance of themselves. So he tried to put coyote urine along the perimeter, but it didn't do anything.
Well, the smell of our dog doesn't seem to deter them. But, I mean, these deer are practically urbanized, so they're used to people and dogs. I mean,
well, I thought you had a big dog.
Close to the deer before they'll run away.
Yeah, but doesn't the dog chase
the deer?
But doesn't the dog chase the deer?
They come into the garden in the middle of the night while we're all sleeping. He's in the house with us.
See, that's why you just need to get like John Rambo, hide in the mud, hide in the foliage and everything.
I'm not staying up all night to protect my damn green onions. Yeah. Now, I've heard if you take human hair clippings and put it in your garden, they'll smell that, and that'll keep them away. I've never tried that. I have tried spraying like cayenne pepper, hot sauce, things like that on the leaves. That does work.
Hot sauce?
If you get some Frank's Red Hot and you spray that on the food, on the leaves of the plants and stuff, yeah, that'll keep them away.
I think if you just stayed out there one night and you got a couple of like John Rambo style, they'd never come back.
You want me to jump out of the tree onto one of their backs and?
No, hide in the mud like in Rambo First Blood Part 2.
He'll miss the deer and wind up with a face full of cilantro.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding.
They drew First Blood.
Yeah. First Blood Part 2. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it won't be Rambo, it'll be Bambo.
It would be embarrassing to lose a fight to a deer.
They're not very strong. If you've ever grabbed one around the neck, they're not really that strong.
Well, they've got hooves and they can kick you, right?
Nah. It ain't harder to take a deer down. I don't think. If you can, I've grabbed one around the neck and held it, and it couldn't get away. It wasn't stronger than me, so.
And what was funny? We talked about on the Fox Company prepping channels was I've been watching that Naked and Afraid in Africa, and those it's like the African game ranger comes out and tells the group, okay, 2 poachers just got taken by lions like last night, and so there are these like 3 people out there with just some hand knives and maybe 1 machete. And there's 2 550-pound male lions that just ate 2 people the other day. it's like, so they said, well, you guys, you 3 girls were basically, you girls better finish building your boma and put all your effort into that so the lions can't get to you. And they were only like halfway done and it was almost sunset. It's like, I mean, I know it might improve ratings and if the survivalists get eaten by a lion, but it's also reckless endangerment if one of them get killed, and even if they signed a waiver. So it's like those 550-pound alpha male lions that just like the night before ate 2 people who had guns. It's like 2 poachers with guns. Okay, maybe they were caught unaware, but that's what lions. They run at 50 miles an hour. They could sprint at 50 miles an hour. So, I mean, how are you going to stop like 2 hungry 550-pound alpha male lions who want to eat you? If they can they get like within 100 yards from you, they could just sprint at 50 miles an hour. It's impossible to stop that with like a pocket knife or a hand knife or even a machete. You're going to get killed. So I don't know why they leave them out there. I mean, I would be afraid to be out there at night, with the rifle, unless I had like thermal, so I could see him coming. And even then, I'd still be afraid. I mean, 50 miles an hour, how am I going to get a sight picture? I mean, so it's like, I think that stuff is crazy. I mean, it's kind of endangering people's lives just for a reality TV show. It's pointless, but. I mean, I learn a few things sometimes.
I mean, that's not really. I mean, it's a TV show. I'm sure they got people out there, and it's all scripted. And
and CGI. The lions aren't real.
It's hard to fake a lion, dude.
I don't know. Special effects are pretty good nowadays.
No, they said there were lions out there. What they meant were the Detroit Lions.
Detroit Lions in Africa.
I'm going to leave that one alone.
Yeah, that could go in the wrong direction. All right. But I mean, I would never do that Naked and Afraid show because it's like, I mean, if I have to go out into the wilderness, I want like all my gear with me.
Nobody wants to see you naked and afraid, dude.
Well, at least the naked part. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I would survive doing that show. And like if I have to bug out into the wilderness, I want all my gear with me. I want clothes. I want my guns. I want my bug out bag. I want my titanium spork. and a good.
So I'd be like, yeah, I want my gun. No, you can't take your gun. Well, I'm not going on the show. I want my gun.
Yeah, they let people bring a bow and arrow for that one.
Really?
Yeah. If you're gonna go in Africa, they let, like, you know, there are 3 girls and let one of them they bring their bow.
No. Not unless you're gonna have armed security around. I mean, hell, that's like going out and camping in the boonies here in the prairie with all the freaking hog crap around here. You know, no. You go out there armed.
So what do you guys think? Have you heard about the whole thing with gun sanctuary cities? They're making like sanctuary cities for gun owners now.
I'm more. Hey,
I think that was in Illinois. I'm not too sure. Have you guys heard anything about all that?
So here's the thing, though, with the cities and the states that are trying or have passed a lot of anti-gun legislation and are continuing to try to pass more. What the majority of the voting citizens in that city or those states are saying is, we don't want you here. So either the people that are against gun control need to get up off their lazy ass and start voting, or take what they're saying and make a decision. Do I want to stay and lose my rights, or do I want to move? And that's what you got to do. But if there's all these pro Second Amendment people out there, and they're just not voting, then shame on them, because they made their own problems. Because these people are getting elected into office, and for all these places they say, well, if all these people from California are moving to our cities, damn, how many people are there in California? Because
way too many.
Well, I mean, apparently the state must be empty now because everybody from California moved to every major city across the country. I'm not saying that the liberal ideas aren't spreading, and I'm not saying that the densely populated cities aren't full of people with these left-wing ideas and all this stuff. But if there's just so many people, if 10% of the state live in the cities and the other 90% live in the country, but the cities control the state, what are the other 90% of the people doing? Sitting on their butt?
Yeah, well, most of the people don't vote, so yeah.
Then they get what they deserve. And if that's your neighbor, if you're for your gun rights and your neighbor's lazy, and because your neighbor didn't go to vote, you lose your gun rights, you know, I mean, what are you going to do? So I say if they're going to be sanctuary cities or sanctuary counties or sanctuary states where they're going to say enough is enough, we're not going to have gun control here, that's going to attract people to say, screw it, I'm moving there. I'll find some work. I'm moving. But most people are really uncomfortable with moving. So I just don't see it happening. I was wondering if any of this sanctuary stuff might be to attract gun businesses, though.
I don't think that's going to happen because they don't move. I mean, they're all in the Northeast.
Gun companies will move. Gun companies will move. But people don't want to move. People don't want to get outside their comfort zone.
It's like
our former governor here tried to get Colt, or a big portion of Colt, to move the entire operation here, and he tried like hell, and they wouldn't budge. And I'm like, they manufacture these guns in a state that hates them and charges them a buttload of taxes, and we were going to give them such a sweet deal. They would not get up off their butt and come here. And I go, well, that is such a stupid, idiotic move. I mean, what are these idiots thinking? And they're just like, nope, we're not going to do it.
Well, it's like I just want to give you my folks example for a reference. I mean, my dad wants to move to Arizona. My mother is like, well, all my friends are here in California, and I would miss them if I moved. And so that's between them. They've been married for over 60 years. Yeah, I'm not gonna. It's up to them to figure out. But it's like, so it's not just moving. Isn't just. It involves a lot of different things. And
yeah.
Well, that's just it. I mean, I'm the kind of person, I have no problem leaving my friends and leaving my family behind. It's because I grew up away from most of my family most of my life. And then when I became an adult, I had my own thing to do. And as far as my friends are my friends. I can have friends long distance. I can have friends that I don't see for several years and then see them again, and everything's the same as it was. Those are the kind of friends I have. So I don't, but not everybody's like that. A lot of people were born and raised and lived in the same city their whole life. They've had their whole family around them their whole life. They have the same friends for decades and decades and decades that all live nearby, and they know their way around. They know what's comfortable. They know the area. And there are people, they can't get out of that comfort zone. I moved around my whole life. It ain't nothing to me to pick up and move. So just because they didn't live the life I lived, I don't expect them to have the same point of reference. But the thing is, though, the people that elected these guys that are taking away your rights, these people are saying, we don't want you here. We don't want you and your guns in our city. We don't want you and your guns in our state. And you got to decide, do I want to just give up my rights, or am I going to move somewhere where they say, come on, we want you here?
Yep.
yeah, it's like you can either, I guess, for myself, I just kind of take the viewpoint that unconstitutional laws aren't laws. So whatever the state of Hawaii passes that's directly in contravention of the Second Amendment, I don't feel obligated to follow any of these unconstitutional laws because they're not laws.
Right,
like,
HVS, but if you sling your tabor and go walking down to Walmart with it, you won't make it into the doors before they've got you arrested.
Well, I would make it into the doors. I don't think I'd make it out.
Well, whatever, but I'm just saying that, okay, they would arrest you.
Sure they would.
It's bullshit, but they would. So you can say they're unconstitutional and you're not lying, you're telling the truth, but the government doesn't care, law enforcement doesn't care, the average citizen doesn't care.
Yeah, the government will violate your rights. The government will do that. That's
where I decide I'm going to live somewhere where they're not going to violate the rights that are most important to me. They might violate a few other rights, and I got to decide. There's a trade-off with everything. There's absolutely a trade-off with everything you do. So you might move somewhere where you've got more gun freedoms, but the cost of living is higher. Or you might move somewhere where there's more gun freedom, but you don't have beautiful weather every day. Or you might move somewhere where there's gun freedom, but you come to find out that all the jobs pay half as much as the one you were used to working.
Or you might move someplace with less freedom and all the hot tubs are filled with fat lesbians.
Well, you can have your fat lesbians. I'm going to have my freedom.
I don't want them. Yeah. That was funny.
Speaking of Walmart.
Oh, did you? I did my rant on Walmart on Edge's show. I could redo that one.
Yeah, you should. When I dropped out earlier, I got Walmart popped.
You got Walmart what?
I got Walmart popped. Instead of NSA popped,
yeah.
There's a Walmart pop. I was in Walmart. I was stopping to pick up a couple things. And I guess the building's one big Faraday cage, because when I got in the back by the frozen foods, that's when it dropped out. A Walmart pop.
Either that or there's lead in those frozen food dishes. All right, so I'm going to tell everybody about the Walmart expedition a few days ago. So I went to Walmart because once a month I go there to get my blood pressure and cholesterol scripts refilled. And so while the pharmacy is refilling, I usually push the cart around and do some chopping. A few cans of Campbell's soup or whatever. And so I'm shopping, and I pick up a few food items, and I saw the for $5 they had the original Mad Max DVD of the first one, and I had the other three, but I didn't have the first one. So I said, okay, for $5 I'll splurge. And so I go to the pharmacy, pick up my meds, and then I go to the self checkout, and I scan my items that I bought. And so it's a self checkout. I'm scanning my items and putting in my I always bring like 3 linen bags, so I don't have to pay the state tax for using if like they give you bags, you have to pay a state tax of like 5 cents a bag. So I bring my own bags. Anyway, I load them all up. I scan everything. I load them all up. And just as I finish scanning, one of the Walmart attendants who watches over the self-checkout aisles barges in and presses the button because a prompt comes up because I bought the Mad Max DVD, and she presses the button that says I'm under 17. So the screen comes up, and basically it says age verification failed. And so I just take off my sunglasses. I look at this lady. I was like, do I or do I not look like I'm over 17 years old to you? I mean, I'm 53, you know, I mean, so she tries to clear this screen off of the computer, the checkout computer, so I could pay for everything. And she can't get it to basically, the screen keeps just whatever she does, whatever button she pushes, it just comes up and says age verification failed. So after like 10 minutes of her trying to clear the screen, I say, you know, maybe you ought to go, if you don't know what you're doing, maybe you ought to go find someone that can work this computer. And so she says, I know what I'm doing. So like finally after 15 minutes, she gives up and goes for help. You know, it's 15 minutes that I'm standing there doing nothing. And so like basically 3 Walmart employees, all girls, show up, and they're all trying to clear this one screen, and none of them can do it. And I'm sitting there for like half an hour, and they're all just pressing buttons, and they can't get the thing to stop saying age verification fail. Because I tried to buy this Mad Max DVD. Oh, by the way, I was going to say that was another good thing about the Battle of the Coral Sea. I mean, without the Battle of the Coral Sea, Australia would have been overrun by Japanese, and there would have never been a Mad Max film. So, but anyway, on with the Walmart part of the story. So basically, after like 30 minutes, just standing there watching like 3 employees, you know, buzzing around me trying to press buttons on this computer checkout machine, you know, I basically blurt out, "How much longer are you going to hold me prisoner here?" You know, and so I guess the most senior Walmart employee there, one of the girls says, "Well, we'll take you to another checkout lane." And so I said, "Man, you want me to rescan everything all over again?" And they're like, "No, we'll do it for you." So they take all my stuff out of the bags, rescan everything, and then lo and behold, when they're finally done doing that and repacking everything in a slightly more haphazard fashion, it's like $4.50 higher, the total, than it was when I scanned it. I'm like, okay, you guys obviously double scanned something because it's $4.50 too high. And they're like, no, we could have I don't think so. So I made them like just scroll through the computer list of all the items, and they double scanned my 1 bag of barbecue pop chips. You know, those are like they have potato slices. They put barbecue sauce on them, and they high pressure, high heat pop them instead of soaking. They're not made with oil or anything. So I guess they're the slightly more healthy choice if you got to have a bag of chips. But anyway, so finally I get out of there. I mean, they take off the extra bag of pop chips that they billed me for, and I think the manager of the store is down there also supervising these three girls. And so they say, "We're sorry, sir. It's like it's because our computer system was updated just today, and it's the new system upgrades aren't really working that well." And I said, "Well, if you get me," it's basically what I said is, "If you get me a hammer from the hardware section, I'll be happy to fix your computer for you." And I walked out. I was just glad to get out of there. I mean, I was like there in the checkout line for over half an hour.
Could they not delete the item and then just rescan that item?
No, they couldn't. They couldn't clear the age verification failed screen. They couldn't do anything because that screen would, whatever they would try to do, the screen would just come up and say age verification failed. They couldn't clear that screen. So,
oh, okay.
You know, there was basically, if that girl hadn't have come in and pressed the button that said I was under 17 years old and couldn't buy a man, then none of that would have happened.
How about just unplugging it from the wall?
How about the hammer solution?
Well, I mean,
a hammer, I'll fix the fucking thing.
When I was in there, I was buying cough syrup.
Oh, you have a cough?
No, I was buying cough syrup for my son. My wife texted me and said, "Stop at the store on the way home and pick up some Dayquil for your son in case he wasn't feeling too good, but he went to school this morning and he came home and he said he still wasn't feeling good, but he didn't want to miss school tomorrow." So she said, "Pick him up some Dayquil." So when I went to go ring up, the age verification thing came up for the Dayquil. And I thought, oh crap, here we go. So, because I was thinking about your little Mad Max thing, right? And the guy comes up and he goes, "Identification." And I go, "I know Edge." And he just pushes the button. He goes, "Have a good night, sir." But what I noticed was weird was the guy had some sort
You're not even
implant.
in the same state. How would somebody make Edge is in Texas?
Dude, everybody knows Edge. Anyhow, he had some sort of cybernetic implant in his head, and a wire was coming out of the implant into his earpiece. And I'm like, holy shit, Walmart's got him controlled like some sort of, I don't know, cybernetic, whatever. So I had never seen it before. He actually had something. They're racing down the highway. Yeah, you guys are really cool. My wife's Chevy can outrun all of them. Anyhow, loud doesn't necessarily mean fast. It just means you got a really bad exhaust. The guy had some sort of thing sticking out of his head, and there's a wire coming out of it into this earbud into his ear. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? So I don't know. Does Walmart cybernetically control their employees or what?
Not here, but you should have taken a picture of it.
Artificial intelligence. Maybe they're building shopping terminators.
I don't know what it was. Like this black circular disc, and it was shoved into his head. I don't think it was glued on because it looked like it was sort of embedded into his scalp. His hair was cut real short, like a crew cut, and it looked like it was embedded into his scalp like an implant. And there was a flat black wire come out of it, like a USB cord, and it was going into like an earpiece in his ear. And I'm like, maybe they're like controlling him, or they're just telling him what to do, or.
Was this on Friday?
No, this was tonight.
Tonight?
What? I stopped at Walmart after work on the way home.
I wish you'd gotten a picture of that. That's crazy.
What you should get him also is that helped me if people are starting to get cold. Is get those Zycam rapid melts. Those are helpful. When I was. If you got a cold oncoming, those Zycam rapid melts are pretty good, and they're not expensive. And also, I get those airborne tablets. I was talking to Oily Prepper about those, but she said those have B6, and she can't take B6 because she's genetically predisposed to be resistant to folic acid. But if you're not genetically predisposed to have a reaction to folic acid, then I take the airborne, and that helped. That and the Zycam rapid melts help too. And I think I take Mucinex, but if I have congestion. They have the day Mucinex and the night Mucinex that have the sleep medications, like some. Basically, they have Benadryl included in there. Is what it is. Yeah, pandemics, stuff we all got to deal with.
And apparently the Terminators, Walmart Terminators.
Shopping Terminators. Well, basically, these girls weren't, I didn't see any cybernetic implants in them, but.
I'm going to look for that.
Did you see any implants of any sort?
I wasn't looking. I was just like, I was too like into the, can't you just clear the damn age verification failed screen, and it was like, okay.
How old was this guy, Squib? How old did he look?
Maybe 30.
Does Amazon or one of those companies, hey, prepping to endure, does Amazon have like implants now that they can basically sense what you want to buy as soon as you pass through the store? I mean, it's like
I don't know, but I'm not going to be in Walmart and be like, hey, man, can I take a picture of the side of your head?
No, I would have. I'd have been like, what the hell is this? Click. This is. I'd have done it.
Well, if I had my video camera, I would have like set it up while they were on a shelf while they were like all pressed trying to clear the button, and I would just videotape me saying, "How much longer are you going to hold me prisoner here?"
And I guarantee you, I'd never walk in that Walmart not armed.
Well, I'm not afraid of like all the Walmart employees.
What if it's a hyper alloy combat chassis underneath and bullets don't affect it?
Well, maybe Rambit will work.
No. Then you. You're gonna have to walk in here with a 50, a Barrett 50 Squib on your back. That'll take him out in one shot. We're just have acid bombs.
I could, there's no law against carrying a katana. I could bring my katana.
Oh no, there's laws in the rest of the country.
I've seen people like I've seen people with the katana like in their backpack bicycling around. But that was
you couldn't go with a sword. Now you can. But there are laws that in other states that you cannot carry swords and stuff beyond a certain length. Like
there aren't any length laws in Hawaii, but it was really funny. I was talking to the UK guys because they have basically a new knife law against they can't like receive or send knives, regular, even pocket knives in the mail anymore. So
they can't even carry butter knives on the street.
And so it's like they thought it was really funny because of I was telling them about the laws in Hawaii. It's like you can't own a gravity knife, you can't own a switchblade, and I was saying that I would never even contemplate using a switchblade unless I had absolutely nothing else. That would be my apps because I don't trust the mechanism. If you stick a switchblade into and it hits somebody's bone, chances are the mechanism is just going to shatter and the knife's going to go flying in God knows what direction. And you're definitely not, as soon as if you hit a bone, you're not going to have a knife anymore as soon as you use it for that. So I wouldn't use, but they were saying, okay, so you can have a Tavor, you can have like, I was showing them my Ruger LC9S Pro and with the Crimson Trace laser, and so that you could have a pistol with hollow points, but you can't have a switchblade. That just didn't make any sense to the British people, who couldn't have either of those things. But
they changed that law here when they changed the laws about the Mossberg and the Remington little shorty shotguns. They changed that here in Texas. What
what laws are you talking about? I'm not.
Oh,
sure
we
what you're
weren't
saying.
allowed when Mossberg and Remington came out with that little short shotgun with no stock on it. You were not allowed to sell those or possess those in Texas. So they changed that law, and they also allowed you to carry swords, and long, long bladed weapon, if you wanted to.
Yeah,
Before you couldn't carry something over like 3 or 4 inches. It was against the law.
yeah, and it's because I think Hawaii gets a lot of its police officers from the mainland. A lot of them don't know that there's no like length restriction. So if they see a long knife, like I take out my bowie and just strap it on, or they might think that's illegal, but it's not. There's no, or I take my katana out, and they might think that's because they don't know that there's no length, there's no law regarding the length of a blade. You can't have a double-edged dirk or a sword, so no double edges. So I couldn't have a bastard sword, but a katana isn't double-edged. And the ski and do I got, that's an American legal one, so it's just one edge, but it's got a spear point. It's would be very effective, but it's like, that's why I like my karambit. It's not a switchblade. It's not a gravity knife. It's very fast, and I like it. But yeah, katana is. I don't think I'd like to get hit with a katana.
Oh no, I don't want to volunteer.
Yeah. Testing the sharpness of this blade. I've been watching. Have any of you guys been watching that Knife or Death show? It's like the new Forged in Fire spin-off thing that they're doing, where the contestants go through like 3 like knife use tests, where they're up against a timer, and first they go through the they're chopping like dowels, and then they have to like chop 8 dowels. Then they have to go through a stick and move, where they have to chop open a box, bucket, and basically get all the sand out till the weight drops down. And then they have to go through a one chop thing where they chop a chicken in half, but that's hanging by a rope with just one. But you only get one swing at it. You have to chop it in half with one. You don't get 2 swings. And then they have to chop a big fish in half, but you only get 1 swing at it, and otherwise you fail. So it's really interesting. And then there's like an ice block where they have to chop an ice block, and it's just an interesting, because the contestants get to pick their own what kind of sword, what kind of blade they want to use. I mean, and
lightsaber?
They don't have lightsabers. Don't exist. How could they use a lightsaber?
Well, if they had one, could you use one? I didn't know.
I think Forged in Fire likes to stick with steel weapons.
It's forged in plasma.
Yeah, and basically how they attack the different items in order to get through is depends on what kind of weapon they have to use. And like the Falcata was very good, like a French sword, cavalry sword, because it had enough weight where it could just, the weight of the weapon would just screw, it would just destroy things pretty quick, because it was heavy enough to. So it was just, I think it's very interesting, because it's like your knife has to not just do the cuts, but it has to survive to do everything else in the you have to get through all of the tests to make it to the end. And so and some of the things that you have to do with it could be very destructive, like chopping an ice block. that could really mess up your steel or roll an edge pretty easily. So, and basically there's this huge big tower of ice with like you have to get to a tube with blue or red dye in the middle of it. and it's a pretty interesting show. But what I like, it's not just about, if you can cut something with your knife, or if it's like if you can get through all the different, if you and your knife can survive doing all these tests in rapid succession. And it's also about aerobic conditioning, because you have to, sometimes, depending on what kind of knife you have, you may have to take a lot of swings at the at the box filled with sawdust, or the rubber bucket filled with sawdust, or whatever it is. And so I think it's interesting that knife or death kind of shows, because it gives you just a different perspective on actually using the weapons in reality, and not just the forging part of it, or the one cut test that they do. Like, is your knife sharp enough to cut open whatever they're testing it on, or will your sword survive, like bashing it up against whatever, a shield like 10 times. But it's like, can you in succession complete all these tasks with your knife and against a timer? And so I think it's a pretty interesting concept of a show. And I guess we'll just see how it goes. I mean, I like the Forged in Fire stuff, because I'm just a knife junkie. For those of you who don't know, yes, I am a knife junkie. But and who's also into guns. So that's how I wound up on gun channels, and all that Second Amendment activism and stuff is part of what that's all about over there on gun channels. And I'm not just an NRA member. I'm Firearms Policy Coalition, Gun Owners of America. There's a lot of good organizations out there, and Second Amendment Foundation. So I just try and do as best as I can for my part, and so the next guy that comes along will hopefully grow up in a country where people are free, and because it's a very precious thing, this thing called freedom, and you can pay for it, but you can't buy it, and it's hard to come by. So anyway, anybody want to talk about anything else on this chat tonight?
Well, I thought it was interesting when I went to a race show on Friday. The security was totally laxed, and basically you didn't see nothing. And yes, the Secret Service did say for the entire week, no guns allowed on the premises at all on Friday, because Trump and Pence were there. But people were walking in there with guns on their hips in plain view. And like, what? I didn't see that many, but there were plenty of people who had them concealed. And then
that was the day that Trump came? Really? They didn't. Yeah. I thought they would wand everybody at least.
They didn't wand a single person. And I knew I could have gone there for free, actually, because I got that little 2018 card in the mail. And that lady didn't even look. I just showed it to her, and she's like, "Oh, okay, go." I was like, "You're not going to stay in it?"
I think on one of the earlier shows, people were saying that there were some protesters outside protesting, calling people baby killers or something. There
was like maybe total Friday the protesters at all. I saw one.
There's an anti-abortion protest group, and then there's an anti-gun group, and I don't know.
And on Saturday, there was only about maybe total of 70 for like, from what I was told by a person I talked to yesterday who was there on Saturday. They said they were there for maybe about 30 minutes, and then they left. The 70 protesters. But yeah, everybody was. You could walk around there and do everything you wanted. You could have been carrying and not carrying, and the Secret Service said to all the media, and the media and in local news stations, every single one of them said no guns allowed on Friday, none. And people walk right past cops with them. They didn't give a shit. I was like, what? this is weird. Okay. But I saw Lou Ferrigno. I saw James Yeager. I saw Billy Birdsell. I saw Double I saw Hickok 45 and his son. There was I wanted to go see Tonto and Boone from the Benghazi rap, but I missed them. Wanted to shake their hands, but I think Clover and Trey saw them. Ghost saw them. But there was, I mean, Friday was definitely an easier day to go, but the friend of mine that went with me, he gets anxiety around a bunch of people, so he started getting anxiety attacks and stuff, and I'm like, shit.
Yeah, what's a convention? There's a lot of people.
Well, yeah, but Friday wasn't bad. He's like, this is too many people. I'm like, dude, this is nothing. Tomorrow, Saturday, it's going to be a zoo. And but they broadcasted Trump's speech and Pence's speech through the whole place. And I did not know Lou Ferrigno was tall. I thought he was. He's
the Hulk. He's going to be tall.
Well, I thought he was short. I honestly thought he was short, but James Yeager's short.
He's whatever. Yeah, but Lou Ferrigno, he's the Hulk.
Yeah, and he still looks good for his age, man. I tell you, I'd love to be looking like him at his age.
People want to know, though. I mean, this is Texas. Did you see Hank Hill and Boomhauer? Or?
Well, they're always there. They live right down the road. They live right down the street. You see them every day.
Yep.
But pretty much, what you see at SHOT Show is what you're going to see at the NRA show. I went by the PSA booth. They did not have the PSA 5. I did find out that is being pushed back further.
Palmetto State Armories, for those who don't know, right? Palmetto State Armory, right?
Yeah, Palmetto State Armory. Their MP5 clone is probably, they said, most likely not going to be introduced till after the first of the year, in 2019, because they ran into some problems and they're trying to keep the cost down. And they wouldn't tell me how much it was going to cost, but they still said it's basically, they're sticking to their story. It's going to be the most affordable MP5 on the market, and it's going to beat everybody out by a lot. So probably 1,000 and under, maybe.
Sounds cheap for an MP5.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, one of the guys there told me that the former head of H&K, former guy who started it or whatever, when the MP5 was around, he said he came over at SHOT Show and looked at it, and he says, "You guys have made my MP5, and you have my approval." So, former head of H&K said, "Yep, this is perfect. And go ahead and make it." So, which I thought was pretty slick. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But just lots of stuff. I mean,
lots of booths.
Ready? Oh God, yes, yeah. I mean, you need more than one day to go. You basically need a section. There were basically the halls in 3 sections, and basically you need a day per section to see it. But there's steel targets, guns, paper targets. There's games. There's scopes. There's guns. There's bullets. There's collecting. I mean, there's everything. Everything you see at SHOT Show on TV and on YouTube, it's all at the NRA. Flashlights, everything you can think.
They'll never have one of those shows in Hawaii. It's just not a gun-friendly state, so they're not.
I think the logistics getting things there is going to be a little difficult.
Yeah.
But Magpul did have their brand new bipod. If anybody's interested in that bipod is pretty slick and it's pretty badass. It is very lightweight.
I've got a Harris bipod on my CZ. I mean, is it any better than a Harris? I mean,
well, it takes Atlas. It takes the feet for the Atlas bipod, and it weighs almost nothing. It weighs like 11 ounces. and it's made of polymer and aluminum, and it mounts to M-LOK, 1913 rail, and key mod.
Cool.
And
How much does it cost?
$100.
Sounds like a winning product.
It's going to be released in the next few months, but it's going to cost about $100, and it's pretty cool. It tilts, leans, swivels. Yeah. They have IW. They had everybody was there. Their booth was huge. Guns all over the place. I mean, Ruger, Smith & Wesson. The Smith & Wesson 380 EZ is extremely easy. I mean, literally, if you have somebody in your family that has very little hand strength to operate a semi-auto slide, this one, they can do it. It is, I mean, it takes no effort to ride on that thing. It is extremely easy. I went, and also another easy one was the Bond Arms Bullpup 9. That was a very easy one to use as well, but that's $1,000 freaking pistol in 9mm, and Smith & Wesson's is like 400. So
yeah, you were telling me about the one I think last week.
Well, I think somebody else talked about it, but the Bond Arms one. But that thing is got so many stinking pieces and parts to it. It just looks like a nightmare. I don't see how that is going to be very successful, but it's got a lot of.
Somebody was explaining to me how it works and how the barrel's set back and how it's a bullpup pistol, and I was like, okay, like
yeah, but there's a lot of there is a whole, but I mean the to tear it down and tear it apart, it's kind of
not simple. It's not like simple, is what you're saying.
No, it's not like a Glock. It's not like a Smith. It's not like a CZ. It's not like 1911. It's not. It's to me, it's really. It's got too many moving parts for a handgun, and
there's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah, but it is very easy to rack the slide. It's an easy gun to operate. But
it is the recoil springs basically looks like a really long spring for a ink pen.
Yeah. But there was, I mean, everything you can think of there, and it was fun. It was interesting to see it all. And I only had the one day, and I couldn't get cell service very well inside there. So trying to broadcast anything for me was a pain in the butt. Not to mention my friend with me.
If you don't mind me asking there, Pat, was it the actual long slide version, or was it the actual normal one like in my photo?
It's the normal short one. This one was only about a 3-inch barrel, 4-inch barrel. There may be a 3-inch is what it was. But it was I mean, it was very easy to operate. It was not hard, but I mean, just the amount of pieces that make that thing come together. It's like, wow, a lot of moving parts. But the two barrel stuff was pretty cool. And I mean, they just, Henry was there, Mossberg was there, Remington was there, H&K was there. I know Flippy was talking about him shooting up, doing a shooting thing on virtual shooting thing, and he's earlier today. I know
Flippy rubbed his face on every HK gun that was there, and the next day he woke up with some sort of gross inflammation.
I never saw him there, so but I didn't go to the HK side. Did see High Point. Got to look at their stuff. They got a lot of cool, fancy paint jobs to make their guns don't look so ugly.
Painting lipsticks on a pig.
Some paint jobs. I mean, they got them in rainbows. They got them in flat darkers. They got them in digicam. They got them in woodland cam. They got it in snow camo. They got them in tigers. They look like a tiger. They I mean, look like It looks like a NASCAR race car is what it looks like. But the point was there. It was pretty cool. Sucker's big and heavy, but you know they are making double stack magazines for that, which is strange.
A 10 Type Point has a 10 millimeter.
Yes, 10 millimeter carbine.
Oh, carbon. Okay.
Yep. And it's just a big old plastic gun. It felt fairly okay, but it's just a big gun, but it shoots a big round. I mean, I wouldn't want to get hit with it.
Yeah, well, would you want to take apart the carbon and clean it? Or, I mean, is it hard to? Is it?
They did not show how to field strip one of those, so I didn't even ask. I'm sure Ghost can show you because I think he's got one, or he's got a 9mm version. But they're making double stack magazines for those. So the magazine will be a double stack on the bottom, and then it will feed into a single stack magazine that goes into the hand pistol grip. But just, I mean, Marlon was there. Everybody. It didn't matter who it was. They were there.
Okay, I didn't want to get through this chat without giving Squibb his chance to gloat over like all the Bitcoin news today about Warren Buffett, and I think.
What did he do? Did he buy more stuff? Because he owns my company that I work for.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, I'll just do a screen share of this news here if I can find it. Here, where's my screen share button? Let's see. Can you see this?
Oh.
This is the Berkshire Hathaway VC Munger, vice chairman.
Looks like Jesse Helms.
Bitcoin nearly as bad as, quote, trading harvested baby brains, says Berkshire Hathaway. And I think Bill Gates said that a Bitcoin is like rat poison squared. And Warren Buffett said, let's see. No, it was Warren Buffett that told his shareholders that cryptocurrency is rat poison squared and that the asset class will come to bad endings. Here's this. Let's see, the question from Munger, who works at Berkshire Hathaway. Said, suppose you can make a lot of money trading freshly harvested baby brains. Would you do it? To me, Bitcoin is almost as bad. I regard the whole thing as a combination of dementia and immorality. I think the people pushing it are a disgrace. There ought to be some things that are beneath you that you just don't do, and this is one. You think these people have an agenda to bash Bitcoin? And that's just, I mean, rat poison squared. Oh, well, what can you say to somebody that just bought 75 million shares of Apple Computer? Anyway, I thought you'd get a kick out of that headline.
No, not really. I mean, my thing is, to me, Bitcoin, yeah, I say it's not real because it isn't, but it's almost like buying stocks. It really is. It can go up, it can go down, it could fold, whatever. All the other stuff. I don't buy stocks either, so, I mean, and do I really care what Warren Buffett has to say? No, I don't care.
Bitcoin is mighty, mighty. That's my 2 cents. But does anybody have anything else they want to talk about before we close this week's show out?
Well, one other thing I did see is if anybody's interested in the primary arms prism, the Cyclops, it's their prism red dot. with the laser etched reticle. They had that there, and that thing was cool. I mean, you could illuminated, turned off. You know, you had your reticle on the looking through the red dot, and you know, it was awesome.
A laser etched reticle on a red dot.
Yeah, so it's a prism. It's a prism red dot, and it doesn't. So it has the laser etched reticle already on the when you're looking through it. So don't have your battery. If you're run out of batteries, you still have your If
there's an EMP, yeah, so EMP proof.
Yep, and it's prism, so it'll work. And
so
it's cool.
Primary Arms sells them. How much are they?
They haven't told anybody how much they're going to cost yet.
Oh, so it's vaporware still? Oh, well, basically,
no, it's being delivered in the next month and a half.
Well, I'll just share with you the experience that, like me and Jesse, James had when he tried to order the new MH, the new Mikey Hartman. I mean, basically every SHOT Show, they said, well, we didn't make it for this SHOT Show, but we'll have this optic will be released at the next SHOT Show. And I mean, like 3 or 4 years in a row, they said the same exact thing. Well, and they just keep missing it. It was total vaporware. So when somebody says a month and a half, I mean, when it's available, tell me, because I just don't believe. I mean, it's vaporware until it's actually delivered. Just because they told you it'll be out in a month and a half, bullshit.
I've also been on the I've been in Instagram chats with the guy who invented it, and I mean he's already had it in his hands and said, "Hey, this thing's done," and it's.
Yes, but delivering product in quantity to a distributor is different than having a prototype in your hands.
Well, he was right. He was right when, on their other scope they released 2 weeks ago when he said they're going to be released. And, so, I mean, there's to what he has to say.
Well, I just got to the point after the third year where I just wasn't willing to believe their shit anymore. So,
Well, no, I agree with you. Yeah, if it's 3 years, the guy who invented the same guy who invents their reticles and comes up with it, he said, "Hey, it's going to be released in a month for this other scope that got released 2 weeks ago."
Don't pay for anything until they actually have it. That's all I can tell you. In stock, and can mail it out the same day that you paid for it. Otherwise, don't. If they give you a $10 discount for paying in advance, don't do it.
Oh no. But I'm just saying his credibility is, at least he was, what he said was true, So it's not like, hey, well, it's not like that STG 44 that's still being invented or reinvented.
Don't even get me started, man.
Because that was 4 years ago.
We need you to rant about something on every show, Squib. So go ahead. I mean, what's locking them without a squib rant?
I don't understand how they can't get that damn thing out. I mean,
when they talked about it, they said this is going to have 60 to 70% of the parts are going to be interchangeable with an original. And the way they're getting around the complexity of the trigger pack is to just take a G3 trigger pack and put it in there because it's practically the same, but at least that's an off-the-shelf part, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, this is great. Because all you have to do is take an original, replicate it, take the, change the sear around so it's semi-auto, done.
Yeah.
What's so hard about that? Somebody's done all the R&D and everything. All you got to do is make tooling to make these parts. And they said the most complicated thing was the trigger. On a real one, the trigger has so many different pieces in it, it's impractical to reproduce it. And they said a G3 one will just drop right in there. All right, cool. That was 3 years ago. Yeah. And they were just talking about how they just had, I pre-ordered a magazine for one. I still ain't got it. I've emailed them twice going, where the hell's my magazine? They haven't returned them. But every quarter I get an email saying, oh, we're about ready to release. Oh, no, this time for real. Oh, what? So, yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I would like to get one of these things. PTR Industries made a semi-auto STG in 8mm short. But they only made a few of them, and they stopped. So, what gives? Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know what to think.
modern
I
day
don't know if
3D printing and all.
Are they just
Laser
taking investors' money and just screwing off, or I mean, how hard can it be?
Well, I think that probably is the big thing. It's just what a few small people in Austin or wherever they're building it, and or
I think they're in
south of
Georgia.
Austin. Was it Georgia or something? I can't
I
remember
thought they
where
were
it
in
is. I thought
Georgia.
they were building it, but it's still. It's like I understand it's a small group of people, and it's harder to with
They're,
the small group of people. You don't got the cash, and
it's a
so if they
steel
don't have
target
cash,
company. They're a
they don't
steel
have.
target company that has decided to make a reproduction of a gun. So,
Well, if they got the money, then they should be able to get tooling made. So, that like you said, that's no excuse.
it's just it's
Because
here's the
I
thing.
watched the deal on
It's the
them, and
R
they
and
were saying
D. The R and
like
D
we
is a
don't know
lot.
when all this stuff's gone. And I'm like, well, there's an original. Just copy the original. That's all you gotta
Pretty
do.
much spend $250,000 to $300,000 for an original one. There's a bunch of them out there. Invest some money into, and then take it apart, H point all the parts, send all that to tool and die makers. They'll make all the tooling. You put them in the machines. You make all the parts. You assemble it. Done. The Germans did all the R&D 80 years ago. All you've got to do is replicate it, and you don't have to worry about patent infringements. What's so hard about that? So, whatever.
Best laid plans of mice and men.
On anything, all of the R&D for it, that's one of the biggest hassles. You have to come up with the design. You have to make the prototypes. You have to do testing. You have to make sure that it works or meets whatever standards it's supposed to meet. Then you've got to go and make the tooling. And once you get the tooling, then you got to get into production. If somebody's already done all the R&D for you, and all you got to do is make the tooling, that's a lot of work out of the way. So,
well, are they making it for different calibers, trying to bring out like 10 different calibers and at one time, or are they just trying to, hey, here's
they're trying
the
to
original,
release it multiple.
here's the 5.56 version. Or
they're trying to release it multiple calibers all at once. My thing is, why don't you release it in the 8mm curves for the first year or two, the original caliber, make a profit off of that, pay back your tooling costs, then go back and release it in 300 blackout or 7.62 by 39 or 5.56 or 30-06 or any other caliber that you want to try to make it in, whatever the heck it is that you want to do. Well, I guess it wouldn't be 30.6, it would be intermediate cartridge. So, if you want to make it in a couple more calibers, go right ahead. But what you do is you release it in the original caliber initially.
Yeah.
And once you've recouped your costs and reinvest that into the company, then you go back. People will buy these things.
Oh yeah, and I bet you that's where their problem is they're trying to come out with 10 different versions at once, and it's like, well, that's going to slow you down a bunch because you got to make sure everything works, and it's not all going to work the first time.
I don't know what they're. I don't really know what it is. It's whatever it is. I'm just. Meh.
It also appears that they're trying to make it so you can actually change the caliber of the rifle itself, which also adds a new element to work with.
Yeah. Yeah.
A standalone gun by its own calibers is one thing. Trying to make an actual one gun fit 3 different calibers you can change out yourself, that kind of brings in a new little issue.
All I want is an STG-44 that looks the same, weighs the same, is the same overall length, the same barrel length, the same caliber, and with as many original parts interchangeable with this reproduction as possible. I want to have the real feel. I want to be able to use this thing the way somebody would have used it in combat or in training in the 1940s. When I go out there, I want it to be like any other milsurp. I realize it's a reproduction, but I want it to be like any sort of milsurp thing. I want to have all the accessories for it, everything, and I want the historical aspect of it when I'm shooting it. I'm not interested in all this, changing calibers or making the thing, all I want is a reproduction. It's like when I get my black powder revolvers. I just want it to look and feel and be as close to the original as possible. How hard is that?
Oh, speaking of revolvers, I did go by the Taylor and Company. They were there, and I got to handle the 1875 Remington Outlaw. Oh yeah, that's nice. I like that. That thing was beautiful. And they also have the trigger job custom version ones. Oh man, you breathe on that trigger in single action, and it just it just shoots. It was it was nice. I was like, if I had the money, I would have bought one right there because they were cool.
Sounds like going to the NRA show with your credit card is a dangerous thing to do.
Yeah, and that's the thing is not everybody was selling stuff, but a lot of people were. So there were businesses like Fax and Barrels. You couldn't buy a Fax and Barrel, but because they told me, well, we couldn't figure out taxes for Texas. I go, it's 8.25%. Sell it. You're selling it here. You're bringing stuff here. You're selling it in the state. Sell it. So I don't know. But yeah, you could have bought guns right then and there. You could have bought anything you wanted if they were selling it. So, but yeah, I'm definitely going to get me an 1875 Outlaw and then the Colt reproduction that they have, because those are nice.
So these are black powder.
No, they're 45 Colt, 357 Magnum, and I think there was something else, another caliber. I don't think
you said it was an 1870 something rifle, right?
1875 Outlaw. Reproduction. Single action
revolver. Okay.
Mm-hmm. No, they were just gorgeous. I mean, just absolutely gorgeous. It's just the caliber to choose from. That's the hard thing.
And the company that makes it is called Taylor
and Company. And
Taylor and Company. All right.
Yeah, Uberti
Taylor and Company is the importer. Uberti makes them. Because Taylor and
Uberti.
Company,
EMS, I've heard of Uberti. I mean,
well, there's a couple companies out there that are the importers, but Uberti makes everything for everybody, pretty much.
Right. Yeah, but they also go in and they engrave on them if you want. They had their own custom engraver. They're engraving anything on your pistol that you wanted and your rifle. And they also have, the tuned up trigger version. I forget what they called it, but it was nice. I mean, the standard one was absolutely nice, and then the tuned up version was just, I mean, slick as glass. I mean, it was nice. I was like, wow.
So how far did you have to drive to get to the NRA show from where you live?
About 50 miles.
50 miles?
Yeah.
I'm jealous.
Well, it's not going to be here next year, so I wanted to go. I just wish I could have gone on Saturday, and instead I had to frickin' work, so I went Friday on my day off, and Sunday I wanted to go shoot, so I could have gone Sunday, but I was like, I want to go to the gun range.
All right. Well, it's time for us to get to the chopper. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. I will be traveling, so no show next week, and I'll be back in June to start up the Block and Load shows again. But I'm traveling, taking a flight to the mainland, and then escorting my folks to Prescott, Arizona. And so I'll be on the mainland for 3 weeks. So I'll start the show back up as soon as I get back to Hawaii. You're born free. Have the courage to live your life that way. See you in June.
Well, have a safe trip.